As women, we have been told that exercise is about weight loss, willpower, or trying to squeeze back into those jeans. Maybe you're overwhelmed at where to start. Maybe you're signing up for every HIIT class, forcing yourself to go so you don't waste money. Maybe you feel guilty because you're paying for a gym membership that you barely use. Or maybe you get into a groove for a week, and then life happens, and then you stop for a month. Ever feel like you're doing all the workouts? You're checking all the boxes, but then suddenly your energy just tanks. Maybe you're burnt out. Maybe something feels off. Maybe your menstrual cycle feels all over the place. What if I told you that the missing piece is not another workout routine? It's learning to actually listen to your body. And when you do, your movement routine can help you heal your hormones, boost your mood, and help you sleep better without burning you out. In this episode, we're talking about how movement is more than just movement. It's medicine. It's regulation. It's science, deeply connected to your hormones, deeply connected to your mood, deeply connected to your sleep, deeply connected to your story. We'll break down how to move smarter, not harder, by tuning into your body cues. Yes, even when it is begging for rest. As a pelvic floor physical therapist, I've seen it in my patients, but I've also seen it in myself. How we as women push ourselves to our limits, push through the pain, the burnout, and the shame, trying to force our body into someone else's mold. I've done it too. I used to think that more was better. I used to wait until the perfect workout routine presented itself to me, and then I would get consistent with the gym. But what if more isn't better? What if better is just different? In episode 2 of the season, Recipe to Your Health, where we're breaking down the recipe, RX, my prescription for true wellness, we will be talking about embracing movement. Movement that is more than just exercise. And I know you think that the E stood for exercise, but I'm telling you, exercise is just a piece to the movement puzzle, which is why we are embracing movement, and exercise is not the only answer. Yes, exercise has a huge role in our health, but today I want you to take away that starting with movement over exercise is one of the best things you can do for your body. By the end of this episode, you'll know how to build a sustainable, life-giving movement routine. Not an exercise regimen, but a movement routine that works with your body and not against it. We'll start with some girl science from your sister, the doctor, Dr. Abby. And then, of course, we'll move into some sister advice and some actionable things that you can do and you can start implementing today to help you embrace movement better in your life. Remember, sometimes you need a doctor and sometimes you need a sister, and I am here to be both for you. Time to nerd out a little bit, besties. Let's get into it. Welcome to or back to the show. This is your sister, the doctor. All right, guys, episode 2. Hey, how's it going? I just want to say that I am blown away at the responses from episode 1. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please go back and watch Reclaiming Rest, because there are some really great points in there that I think that you all would enjoy to see. I actually want to challenge you to create a rest menu from last week. So I'm just going to pop mine up here somewhere. And I think that, if I can inspire you to do what I'm telling you to do and I'm doing it myself, then maybe you guys can get some inspiration from that. I actually really, really enjoy assigning things for homework. I used to play teacher when I was a kid, and I think making this podcast and giving you guys little homework assignments is fulfilling my inner child. So please, if you want to create a rest menu and share it on Instagram, tag me, and yeah, I think it would be really fun. Just to give you guys a couple, if you're only listening to the audio, on my rest menu, I have under the physical category, I have biking, I have climbing, I have yoga, swimming. Under, creative rest, I have painting. Sensory rest, I have dark room, noise canceling headphones. If you want to check out my full rest menu that I've created, I will be posting it on socials, and it's also in this episode. Please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share, comment, send this to your mom, send it to your sister, send it to any woman in your life and all the men that have women in their lives, because I think that even though this is just like the baby stages of this podcast, my goal with it is for it to reach lots of women and help them understand their wellness a little bit better and make things a little bit more tangible, because there's so much that isn't being communicated in the world of women's wellness. And there's a lot of trends out there. There's a lot of fads out there. It's hard to find reliable sources. So I am here to hopefully bridge that gap for you guys. And I'm so excited to get into episode 2. We're going to get into the doctor advice. So time to get nerdy with me. Let's get nerdy, guys. Yay! Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about what is exercise, what is movement. So the definition of exercise is a structured program you participate in that is intentional and it drives you toward a goal. So that could be improving your flexibility, your strength, getting the gains in the gym. So if you have like a particular exercise regimen you're following, like a power lifter or a dancer, it's structured. Versus movement is kind of like under this umbrella of physical activity. So physical activity is any movement that you do throughout the day. So that could be carrying groceries up the stairs. It could be parking far away. It could be climbing a mountain. I don't know, whatever you do, lift your kids. It's like movement throughout the day that isn't really goal oriented. It could be going for a walk. Like maybe you don't have a goal with you going for a walk other than your enjoyment. So that's kind of the way that I see it. The official definitions are not actually cited in this episode, but I think I'm pretty spot on, because exercise is more of like that regimen versus movement is kind of like this umbrella, and exercise is here and functional activities are under there, and X, Y, and Z. So as a physical therapist, I look at the person, their body as a whole, which is really nice. So we take a look at your cardiovascular health, your strength, your flexibility, your mobility. Can you move your hip in a certain range of motion and control it? Versus flexibility is more, can you passively reach and touch your toes and stretch out your hamstrings? And then your posture. And your posture, how you can function, how you can lift, how you can stay upright. So cardio, strength, flexibility, stability, mobility. Stability is like, can you keep your core strong? Can you stabilize if something's pushing you? Mobility, can you move your joint through a range of motion? Flexibility, can you passively stretch? And then self-efficacy, how motivated are you to stay fit physically? So those are like kind of like some PT things that I look at, and that's just very broad PT things. And then of course, as a pelvic floor PT, I'm looking more at your pelvic floor muscles, and I'm looking at, we'll do a whole episode on that. So I kind of wanted to talk about just the basics. General recommendations for adults for cardiovascular health is 75 to 150 minutes of intense cardio, or 150 to 300 minutes of moderate cardio per week for adults. Strength training recommendations, 2 days per week for each main muscle group. And then flexibility, I think it's 2 or 3 days for each muscle group, stretching throughout the week. And those are just general recommendations, and we'll kind of get into the science of what's missing there. So actually, one of the first points I want to touch on is your posture and your daily movement. So the recent research is showing that moving throughout the day is better than, say, being sedentary and then working out later. So that means if you work a desk job and then you go work out, that's not as good as if you work a desk job and just get up a few times throughout the day. What? That's crazy, but it's true. So frequent movement throughout the day is more beneficial than a single 30-minute walk, like during your lunch break. especially for people who have sedentary lifestyles. Replacing sedentary time with physical activity of any intensity provides health benefits, according to the World Health Organization. Sitting for longer stretches is a health risk. One gym session will not cancel that out. But here's the good news, you don't need a long work. Recent research shows that breaking up 8 to 9 hours of sitting with short bursts, like 10 bodyweight squats every 45 minutes, led to 21% better blood glucose control than a single 30-minute walk. And then that's not even including all the health benefits for your quads and your glutes and your metabolism. So these micro movements, as a PT, I call these exercise snacks. So when I give my patients exercises, I'm not expecting them to sit down and do a whole routine outside of our sessions. I want them to kind of place these little exercises in throughout their day. It might be something as simple as leaning back and using your core, or doing a couple body weight squats, or doing some Kegels, something like that, which we'll talk pelvic health. We'll get there, guys. Don't worry. It's coming, because, I'm a pelvic floor PT. But anyway, so these micro movements are called exercise snacks. So that's basically what the study showed, is that when you're exercise snacking throughout the day, that's way better than doing one workout at the end of the day when you haven't moved all day. So just a few minutes of high intensity exercise sprinkled throughout the day improves your metabolism and your blood sugar levels. The body craves rhythm. I think of it as, women are cyclical beings. So we want rhythm. We don't want to be stagnant all day, sitting all day. We want a little ebb and flow. We want to move a little bit and then rest a little bit, and then move a little bit and rest a little bit. As humans, we are not built to sit at desks all day. Tell your boss. Woo, I'm just kidding, but for real. You gotta move throughout the day. I am very blessed that I have an active job, but if you work at a desk, if we can come up with some strategies for you to move throughout the day, that would be awesome. If you're in school, that's really tough as well. I do remember being a student and not moving for hours, but the more you can move, the better you're going to feel. And then another PT tip I have for you is the next posture is the best posture. So I'm actually seeing that in my clinical practice, there is no such thing as perfect posture, and the research shows that. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. So there's some negative effects for prolonged sitting. It's more likely to worsen your mood and increase your depression. It reduces blood flow and oxygen delivery to the brain. It decreases the production of serotonin and dopamine, which are essential for feeling happiness and motivation. It's associated with low-grade inflammation, and it's just not good for your mental health. So I always think of, physics. An object in motion stays in motion. An object at rest stays at rest. Your body wants to stay in motion, so keep it in motion. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about posture. So posture is dynamic, and as a physical therapist, my best advice to my patients is the next posture is the best posture. There is no such thing as perfect posture. And I've seen patients who have, quote, perfect posture, like dancers, or somebody who thinks that sitting ergonomically at a desk all day without moving from that position is perfect posture. But these people end up in pain too. And, the research is interesting. Posture is dynamic and complex, and it's influenced by multiple factors, including muscle activity, movement patterns, and lifestyle. Posture is linked to pain, but is not the cause of pain. The relationship between pain and posture is actually pretty weak. Sedentary behavior actually plays a larger role in pain than posture does. So they published a study in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, and they investigated the difference between people who sat cross-legged and people who sat up straight and their effects on low back pain. And if you cross your legs for prolonged periods of time, that can increase your back pain. I see it in my patients a lot of times, especially moms and, women. We're taught to cross our legs. Sometimes that can create like a little shift in your hips. Not necessarily that it's out of alignment and you can't do anything about it, but it does impact your posture. So I say just don't cross your legs on the same side all day. Like, switch it up. And it's nothing wrong with crossing your legs. But, sometimes these little things throughout the day. If you're sitting in a prolonged position for a long period of time and you're not moving out of that position, yeah, your body's going to feel it anatomically. And sometimes it's just educating patients on motion is lotion, the next posture is the best posture, all the little fun PT things that we love to say. Additionally, the Journal of Orthopedic and Sport Physical Therapy suggests while good posture is often idealized as being straight and upright, the relationship between posture and pain is very complex, and there's a lot of other things dependent on that. So we kind of already talked about that. But all in all, the research shows that pain and posture are not as related as we think they are, for one. And for two, that to focus on movement over being sedentary is a better approach when it comes to posture. So let's talk about mental and emotional impacts of benefits of movement. So movement releases hormones that regulate your mood. It supports healthy sleeping patterns. It functions as a form of physical rest and recovery. And if you were listening to last week's episode, that is so important. It acts as a natural antidepressant. And just some quick statistics from your sister, the doctor. Regular physical activity decreases depression by 16 to 43%. Exercise improves symptoms of anxiety and psychological distress compared to being sedentary. Moving regularly can boost your mood, help your sleep, and help your cognitive function. And just 30 minutes of moderate activity most days can provide noticeable mental health benefits. Group or social movement enhances connection and well-being, adding social benefits as well. And there have been multiple studies on this. So I kind of want to talk about structured exercise versus just functional movement. And there is a time and place for structured exercise, and I am a big advocate on that. However, it is not be all end all. Movement throughout your day is just as important. Structured exercise is vital in building your strength, your endurance, your flexibility, things like that, which are all very, very important parts of the recipe to your wellness. So we don't want to ignore these things. We definitely want to talk about them. And as women, we definitely should be making time for strength training, for cardiovascular training, for flexibility, mobility, those sort of things. Functional movement, like lifting things, carrying things, holding your kids, gives us long-term support and helps us as we age. So those are also things that we want to prioritize in our exercise routines. Working on balance, especially as we age, is really important for functional movement. So functional training across the lifespan. And some benefits for that are improving your physical function, enhancing your muscular strength, improving your body composition, supporting your cardiovascular health, reducing the falls risk, especially as we age, strengthen your bones, and regulating your metabolism. So lots of benefits for functional training. And we'll go more into detail when we talk more like specific exercise routines. But for today, we're just talking about movement in general. So there's so much we could talk about. I mean, I have a degree in exercise science, so I could literally make a whole podcast on just exercise. But this is wellness, so, exercise falls into that as well. Exercise needs to also evolve across the lifespan. So what you're doing as a teenager should not be what you're doing as a postmenopausal woman. Research on females and exercise is still emerging. Historically, women were excluded from studies based on the fact that they had a menstrual cycle or menopause or other hormonal fluctuations. Current research is ongoing, but often it's not translated, and I highly recommend that you guys look up Dr. Stacy Sims on YouTube or podcasts. She is an exercise physiologist, and she is really great at speaking about the newer things coming out in the world of women's fitness and exercise. Women are so underrepresented in exercise science research, and of the studies that we have, women comprise of less than 20% of the study participants. This lack of representation hinders the development of evidence-based guidelines to tailor women's fitness. But, exercise routines should be tailored to women's hormones, to their menstrual cycle, to menopause, to perimenopause, things like that. And as a PT, I am always using my evidence-based practice, which is scientific research, what I see in the clinic, and what my patients report to me. So, even though this is such a new field, I do believe that I can help women across the lifespan with any concerns that they have about exercise. So many things are lost in translation when it comes to women's fitness. So I am just going to share a couple of these things with you guys, and it's not going to be everything because there's so much to discuss. For one, it is found that women benefit from smaller dosages of exercise compared to men. So I know in the beginning we talked about the general guidelines for physical activity. The Journal of the American College of Cardiology published a study. It showed that women had the same benefits of exercise that men at 300 minutes would get at 140 minutes. So women don't need as much exercise as men. Isn't that crazy? Additionally, women only need one strength training session per week compared to men who need at least two. Basically, we can exercise half the time that men need to, which that's a huge finding because we are overdoing it by times two. We only need one session of strength training and 140 minutes of cardiovascular, and we're still getting the same benefits as men. That's the minimum. That's kind of crazy to think about because we've been looking at these studies built for men and we only need half of that. Another key finding is that hormones and hormone fluctuations impact physical activity. It can affect recovery and performance. Despite this, women have been excluded from so many studies just due to their hormones. A recent study in 2022 put out by the Journal of Applied Physiology basically said that menstruation doesn't really affect performance in women. However, there are so many different sex differences, and the current research doesn't define expectations for women compared to men because it's just so understudied. So that goes into cycle syncing, which is aligning your exercise with your hormonal cycle. And this can impact your performance, your recovery, your symptom management. They have done studies, and women are more prone to ACL tears when they are in their pre-ovulatory stage of their menstrual cycle because there is more laxity in their ligaments. So there are certain times of the month where women are a bit more prone to injury. And that's really important to understand, especially as we're programming things for young athletes, especially if there's a greater risk when you are just beginning your menstrual cycle. So, there's so much research that still needs to be done. But all in all, it is important to know that your hormones do impact your exercise. Cycle syncing research is very limited. But we do have this evidence-based practice and knowledge that women do report that they feel lower during their menstrual cycle and higher during their ovulatory phase. And the easiest way to describe the menstrual cycle is by the 4 seasons. So remember, we are cyclical beings living in a linear world. Remember that from the first episode. So when you have your period, that's day 0, that's winter. Then you have your follicular phase, which is spring, you ovulate, and then that's summer, and then you have your luteal phase. So there's the early luteal and the late luteal, which is like early fall, late fall. So we'll have a whole episode on cycle syncing, but just tracking your symptoms and knowing that it can impact how you feel during a workout is crucial as a woman to know, because if you're exercising and you're not feeling it one day and then you hit a PR the next day, it could be your cycle impacting you. And knowing that we can adapt movement to when you are having your cycle is huge. There's going to be so much more coming about your cycle, so stay tuned. So the main takeaways that I want you to get from the doctor advice is emphasize movement over your posture throughout the day. The next posture is always the best posture. The body craves rhythm. You want to move throughout the day instead of sitting prolonged. There are so many mental and emotional benefits to exercise. Exercise is medicine in so many ways than just the physical. There is a time and a place for structured exercise, and there is a time and place for just movement, for function. There are so many things that have been lost in translation or understudied in the realm of women and exercise, including your menstrual cycle and your hormones. So now that we've talked the science and what's missing from the science, let's talk sister advice. Let's think about putting things into practice. Think of your movement routine as a recipe. And I know the season is the recipe to your wellness, but think about the recipe to your movement. So you've got your movement, your general function. You've got your structured exercise, which includes your cardio, your strength, and your flexibility. And all of these things have a place. Too much of one and not enough of the other, and the recipe might taste bad. So we definitely want to balance these things out. So let's talk a little bit about some sister advice when it comes to movement as a woman. First, I want to touch on there is no such thing as a perfect movement routine. And I've made this mistake. I still make this mistake. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I still wait around and put things off. And I'm like, man, I'm going to make myself the most perfect exercise routine and I'm going to stay structured and I'm going to stick with it. But does it ever happen? No, it never does, because there's no such thing. There is no such thing as the perfect workout routine. As a personal trainer, there's no such thing. As a physical therapist, there is no such thing. You're not going to include everything. Yes, we can program for specific goals, but are you ever going to get a perfect workout routine? No. The point of me telling you this is to just show up and do it. Just put some pep into your step. Stop waiting around for someone to hand it over on a silver platter. Here's your perfect workout routine. Do this every day forever and be disciplined about it, and you will have the perfect body and you will reach all your goals. No one is going to do that for you. You just need to get your butt up and start moving and grooving. I don't care if you go to Zumba. I don't care if you go to yoga. I don't care if you go swimming. It doesn't really matter. You can go for a walk. You can do some bodyweight squats. You can do something that doesn't feel like exercise. As long as you're moving, that's great. There is no such thing as a perfect movement routine. And when I say that, I don't mean there's no such thing as a perfect exercise routine, because there are perfect exercise routines for, say, you have a goal to deadlift something and you're progressively overloading to get to that weight. Sure, that's great. But there's no such thing as a perfect movement routine. Okay? Okay, good talk. So just move. So daily movement and posture, all the little exercise snacks count. It all adds up throughout the day. So maybe you could make a little note in your phone and just make a little tick mark every time you get up and do some bodyweight squats. Give yourself a sticker. But they all do add up. And the research shows that they all add up. So let's follow the research. The perfect posture does not exist. Do you think I have perfect posture? No. Do you think any physical therapist does? No. I'm actually going to move postures now. Because guess what? The next posture is the best posture. And that will always be true. Okay? Okay, also good talk. Movement keeps your body happy. So just remember, an object in motion stays at motion. An object at rest stays at rest. And if you're being sedentary, you're not going to get up and move. So if you're just listening to this and laying in your bed, maybe you could just even do some ankle pumps. I don't know. Wiggle your shoulders or something. Movement is great for your body. And if you stay in a prolonged posture for a really long time, then you're going to be feeling it later. I can promise you that. You know why you're so stiff when you get out of the car after like a 5-hour drive? It's because you haven't moved in a long time. Get up, take a little movement snack break. You gotta love it. All right, mental and emotional benefits. So we've talked about how movement improves your mood and your sleep. Knowing this, why are we not getting up and doing short bursts of movement throughout the day? Structured workouts are helpful, but movement throughout the day all adds up. So park a little bit further away, walk up the stairs, carry in the groceries, carry an extra bag. Balance structure with enjoyment. Both are very important. You know what's the most stress relieving thing? Going for a bike ride. I love going for a bike ride. Just like a nice, chill, easy, little bit of pedaling, little bit of breeze. I need to get a bike soon. Or like rock climbing. That's super fun. Or yoga. Or swimming. There's so many things. And all these things I'm putting down on my physical rest bucket. And I think that's the beauty of this episode, because there is so much that we can take away from the rest episode and apply to this episode. Movement is rest, and rest is movement. That just got really deep for no reason. Some more sister advice. It's a little bit more evidence-based. These are some top tips that I would like all women to know about movement. So we're just going to go through them. Movement matters at every age. Think of movement as medicine. Think of it as regulation. Think of it as community. Prioritizing your bone health early on. As we age, weight-bearing activities like resistance training and walking all help protect against osteoporosis, including balance and agility work to prevent falls as well. And I know we're all young here, but one day. I'm always working on my balance, especially in yoga. And I think that working on my balance now is going to make things easier when I'm older. I love the balance poses in yoga. They're so fun. Protecting your joint health. So working on, as women, we need to focus on a lot of hip strength, glute strength, core stability to reduce injury. And every single one of my patients is working on this. If you're a woman, I guarantee that you need to work on this. Hips, glutes, core. And proper lifting tech. We can also do another whole episode on that. Listening to your hormones. Notice which season you're in. Are you in a winter season? Are you in a summer season? Move with that intention. Don't move just to check something off a list. Move because you want to move. Move because you don't want to move and you know that this movement is going to help you. What I mean when I say that is, if you have period cramps, there are stretches you can do to help with that. If you're feeling on top of the world, maybe use that energy and propel yourself into a high intensity workout class and have fun. Know that you can adapt even if you're following a structured program. You can stay consistent with a weight training program and still adapt to your cycle. Maybe you just don't bump up weights. Maybe you just work on range of motion. Maybe you push for a PR, depending on how you feel. Mind-body connection. This one is huge. Creating a connection between your mind and your muscle. If you've never heard of this, I recommend the next time you're doing an exercise to think and connect your brain to that muscle. And the more you practice, the easier it does get. I promise you that. And then, of course, my favorite, pelvic floor, which has so much to do with mind-muscle connection, because when I work with my patients in pelvic floor, we're focusing on the muscle-mind connection of your diaphragm, which is a breathing muscle, your transverse abdominis, which is your core muscle, your pelvic floor muscles, your back muscle called the multifidus. Lots of deep core stabilizers. But as a woman, I think that every woman at some point in their life would benefit from pelvic floor education. And I know that coming from a pelvic floor PT, you might think that's a little bit biased, but I see it in every single person that I work with. And regardless if they are a pelvic floor patient, there are things that you can learn. Just having awareness of this area of your body is huge, because we hold tension in the pelvic floor and we don't realize it. We don't engage the pelvic floor when we think we need to. It's just awareness. A lot of it is just awareness. Especially if you're pregnant or have kids, get your pelvic floor checked out. But even if you haven't had kids, or I've met plenty of men that need pelvic floor PT as well. But as women, we really do need to be in tune with this part of our body. And it's, it's something that we don't talk about. So it's often ignored. And it's kind of like the glass shattering. Like once you realize that it's there and what it's doing, you can't unnotice it, because it's such a huge part in your everyday life. I'm at loss of words about this because it's just such an important topic, but my unbiased opinion as a pelvic floor PT is that every single woman needs to know about her pelvic floor. Amen, sister. Okay. And then recovery certainly matters. Recovery matters. More is not better. You guys need to rest. Don't overdo it. Please give your body a rest day. If your personal trainer or your physical therapist gives you exercises to do, don't do them every single day. Don't burn yourself out, sis. Come on. You know better. Like, literally just give your body a rest day. It's fine. We can go to the gym. Remember that study that I talked about? Women will need 1 day of resistance training. That's crazy. That's crazy. Sure, you can do mobility every day. Sure, you can do some core activation exercises every day, but please give your muscles time to recover. Please don't overdo it. Please fuel your body. Make sure that you are eating enough. So many women don't eat enough. So many women come to me and say they didn't eat breakfast and that they want to work out. And I tell them, you got to eat something first because we don't want you passing out. Food is fuel. Recovery matters. You need to eat and you need to recover and rest. And those things are vital to a good movement routine. And that is why I put the rest episode before the movement routine, baby. Okay. And finally, I just want to say adapt for whatever season of life that you're in. If you're pregnant, your movement routine is going to look different than if you were in menopause. I just quickly want to go through some major differences between men and women. Number one, hormones. Women are more cyclical. Men have stable hormone levels, so they have a consistency in their performance, versus women have cyclical changes. Bone health. Women are more prone to osteoporosis. Early resistance training is huge for women. Men have slower bone loss, but they still need weight-bearing exercises. Women are different because they have a wider pelvis, they have a higher ACL tear risk, they have greater ligament laxity. There's just anatomical differences between men and women. Men have a more narrow pelvis and they're more prone to muscle strains as they're lifting really heavy. Cardiovascular, women have smaller lungs, so they have different VO2 max. They have different energy pacing. Estrogen plays a role in that. Psychological and behavioral differences. Women often exercise for stress management and aesthetics, for mental health impact. And men are more performance-based and they're less influenced by their hormones. So the key takeaway is that women benefit from something that's periodized, that is fluctuating, that considers their hormones, that considers their recovery, and their structural vulnerabilities, versus men's programming can be a little bit more linear. Women require more nuanced adjustments. Okay, let's talk actionable. We're almost done. Okay, so routines. If anybody's read Atomic Habits, on average, it takes more than 2 months for a new behavior to become a habit, or specifically 66 days. For someone who's just getting into exercise, let's just choose one thing. Exercise snacking, it adds up. Pick one goal. Every day I'm going to do 2 exercise snacks. Start there. If you think you can handle it, do every hour. You're going to do 1 exercise snack. Something like that. Movement doesn't need to be perfect or intense every time. It can be so simple. So let's focus on one thing. It could be a 5-minute walk. It could be a couple bodyweight squats. It could be stretching before bed. Just keep it simple so that you can stick with it. And schedule it into your day. Treat it like a non-negotiable with yourself. And if you keep that promise to yourself, your confidence is going to build. If you break that promise to yourself, your confidence is going to diminish. And I know that sounds a little harsh, but it's true. Because I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. Not going to lie. But you know what? I'm learning and growing with you guys too. And reminding myself that there's no such thing as a perfect movement routine. Any movement is good movement. Just picking one thing and sticking with it. We can't make all the habit changes at once. Stick with something until it becomes a habit and then add something on. And over time, all these little small changes are going to turn into a bigger lifestyle shift. But before you do any of that, you have to really want it with movement and exercise. Being motivated is huge. There's intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. If you're extrinsically wanting something like you want to look good on your beach vacation, that's not going to last. But if you want to feel fulfilled and you're intrinsically motivated to do something, that might last. Just know that, if you pick something and you miss a day, you miss 2 days, life happens. It's not going to be perfect. Just pick back up where you left off. And don't say you have to start all over, because you're not starting all over. Just keep going. Just get up and keep going. You're strong. You're independent. You're a woman. Just keep going, baby. You got to stick with it. And if you stick with it, you're not going to stick with something that you don't like to do. So make it enjoyable. If you like to dance, go dance. Go to Zumba. Starting with a class is honestly one of my recommendations because I used to teach fitness classes and they're always so fun. So if you find a really great instructor, then go hang out with your instructor friend and do the workout, get it done, get that social support. I would recommend anybody who's starting a fitness routine to find an inclusive, happy class that they can join. Something that's positive. The first time that you're going to go do something, you are going to feel intimidated, but find a class where you feel welcomed and you can talk to the instructor beforehand and they make you feel comfortable. And if it's your first time, then they celebrate that and they don't make you feel shameful that you've never been. Starting somewhere is starting. And you just continue to grow every day beyond that. And then celebrate your small wins. Celebrate. You did the damn thing. Celebrate. So the beautiful thing about all of this is that no one's journey looks like yours. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. Find the rhythm that feels good. And I would like to challenge you guys again to create something this week. I know you think that I was going to say create a movement menu, but that's not what it is. I want you to create a movement pyramid. And with the movement pyramid at the bottom, at the base of the pyramid, I want you to put down some very low level movement things that you can do. Structured movement, exercise, whatever you want to call it. So at the bottom of mine, I might put a nice slow walk, or I might put a yin yoga class. And then the next segment, I might put Pilates or flow yoga. And then the next section, I might put a chill bike ride or a chill swim. And then the next one, I might put resistance training or walking on the treadmill. And then the next one, I might put a HIIT workout. The next one, I might put a cycle class. And at the very top, it's something that's really difficult for you to do. But I want you to create a movement pyramid so that we can share these and get some inspiration for what we want to do with our movement. And, find activities that you enjoy doing. If you like to do martial arts, put that on there. If you like to do yoga, put that on there. If you like to go rock climbing, put that on there. If you want to do Just Dance on the Wii or the Switch or whatever, put that on there. If you want to put pole dancing on there, put that on there. If you want to put walking your dog or climbing a mountain or skydiving, whatever movement that you like and that you'll enjoy and you'll stick with, put that on your pyramid. And then when you have those low days, look at the base of the pyramid and choose which ones you want to do. And if you have a higher day, look at the tip top of the pyramid. And if you never reach the top of the pyramid, that is okay. That's really okay, guys. You don't need to. It's there if you need it. But it's not going to bring you to a certain goal. If you stay at the bottom half of your pyramid most of the time, I think you're doing great. Truly. Because your body is an object in motion. And it doesn't really matter if you're going to those intense HIIT or cycle classes. Maybe you don't need to. Side note. If you guys listen to Dr. Stacey Sims, she talks about how research is showing that Orange Theory classes are actually not as beneficial as people think they are, and women may or may not benefit from even going. It might be better that they don't go at all, which I thought was kind of crazy. But anyway, if you feel guilty about not going to like a solid core class or a Orange Theory class, maybe that makes you feel a little bit better, because women are not really built to do this repetitive, moderate intensity exercise without any recovery or rest. High intensity exercise with an appropriate amount of recovery is helpful. And if you want to learn more about that, go watch one of her interviews, because it is mind-blowing. Because it changes what you think about the fitness industry. And then you realize that it's just business, right? Anyway, tangent over. Create a movement pyramid and let me know how it goes. I'm sure it'll be great. And I will share my movement pyramid with you guys next week. Some final sister advice. Do what fills you up. Movement should be fun. Movement should be fulfilling. Exercise is not punishment. Listen to your cycles. Listen to your body. Forget the all or nothing. Know that there's some gray area. Know that breaking up your day in little bouts of exercise is going to be more beneficial than punishing yourself in a workout later. And if there's one thing that I want you guys to take away from today, it's that movement is more than just movement. It is medicine. And exercise is just part of the recipe to your movement. And movement is just part of the recipe to your wellness. And if you don't have rest, then your movement isn't going to be as good. And movement can be rest. And it's all related. And that was kind of more than one point, but I think those are all valid points. So we're going to go with it. And we have made it through the second episode of Your Sister the Doctor. I hope you learned something. Please tag me if you're listening to this, and tag me if you create a rest menu or a movement pyramid. And I'm going to leave you with some affirmations. I heard that you guys really liked the affirmations last week, so we're going to go for some affirmations this week as well. I want you to close your eyes and listen to me as I read these affirmations. Every small movement brings me closer to a stronger, healthier me. I'm consistent because progress is built one step at a time. It's not perfection. I embrace challenge and celebrate growth, both physically and mentally. I am resilient and adaptable. I build strength through intentional movement. Exercise is my way of showing love and care to myself. Even the small steps count. I listen to my body and honor what it needs today. I am building resilience inside and out, one movement at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.